What's good, people? Welcome back to the channel. It's 2023, a whole new year, so it's time for an updated NBA rankings going into this season. If you haven't seen my previous NBA rankings video about a month ago, go ahead and check it out on the channel. Yeah, there's a lot to be updated. With that being said, the tiers are on the left and we're going to place all 30 teams into each tier to see how they fare going into this new year. Besides all that, let's get right into it. Let's start off with the 76ers. I got them as a B tier team. I think they can move up to an A tier team because they're still one of the contending teams in the Eastern Conference. And B is looking like the MVP candidate. James Harden's going to be an all-star. And Maxey back in the rotation has helped his team out. But I think they need one more piece to really put them over the edge in the Eastern Conference that looks really, really deep. But this team has performed very, very well so far in the season. Next up, the Washington Wizards. I got them as a C tier team. The Washington Wizards have been pretty much where I expected them to be, fighting for a playing spot in the season, and I think that guys like Kristaps Porzingis and Kyle Kuzma have performed very well in this season. Even though they have looked okay at times, they could possibly sell the house and trade some players from their roster to gain some assets back like Kyle Kuzma. Yeah, they've been okay, but they're not anything too special, and if they do keep their roster, they'll probably be fighting for a playing spot, but they're right where they're supposed to be. They're a C-tier team. Next up, the Atlanta Hawks. Another C-tier team. I think the Hawks have been actually a disappointment this year. With the DeJounte Murray trade, we expected this team to play much better than what we've seen. I think that this team definitely has an identity issue. John Collins is having a really, really down year. This team just hasn't performed to the expectations that we expected them to meet. And I think that right now, it's just not looking good in Atlanta. Hopefully they can turn it around, but they might need to make a big move or a drastic move to really, really shake what's going on in Atlanta. Next up, the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're an A-tier team. Cleveland Cavaliers have looked very, very good so far. Donovan Mitchell just dropped 71 points. Like, come on, bro. Like, 71 is insane. The Cleveland Cavaliers are a really, really good team. And I think they'll perform very, very well as the season continues. And I think if they make another move at the trade deadline, Cleveland could be very, very scary. But they've looked so good so far. Next up, the Detroit Pistons. Come on now, they're an F-tier team. They clearly need to rebuild. It sucks that Cade Cunningham's going to miss the entire season. And I think that it's pretty bad. Yeah, we know what it is. We know what it is, Detroit. Next up, the Indiana Pacers. Indiana is a weird team for me to rank because I want to put them to a B tier team, and I think I'm going to keep them down as a C tier team, but I think they performed so well so far for the expectations that we expected them to be. I can definitely see this team making it into the postseason, which would be a great accomplishment for a team that was not expected to have this much success this year. So credit to Tyrese Halliburton, who I think is an all-star this year, and the entire Indiana Pacers team. So next up, the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee's an A-tier team. Milwaukee's had a tough stretch. They went 9-0 to start the season, and they've been below 500 since then. Giannis has gotten back into a rhythm, and I think the biggest issue with the Milwaukee Bucks right now is getting that offense situated with Giannis off the court, and also trying to find ways without Chris Middleton to be productive on offense. It's not easy, but I think this team is going to find their rhythm, but they have looked pretty bad and little shaky since then. Right now, they're a contending team. They'll be a contending team, but amongst the NBA teams right now, they're an A-tier team. The Toronto Raptors. Toronto's been a disappointment. I think we all can say that, to say the least, because we look at this team and we know what the talent that they have on this roster, and they have not met it at all. And I see a lot of players on this team that when the trade deadline hits in February, they could possibly be moved. OG Anunoby, who's been a great two-way player. Gary Trent Jr., who could be moved. I see a lot of pieces that could possibly be moved at the trade deadline for Toronto because they just have not met their expectations. It's not over yet, but the month of January is going to be big for this team because they have to show some progress. If they don't, I can see Masai Ujiri pulling the plug and making some drastic moves in Toronto. Next up, the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas is a B-tier team, and I think people want to put them to an A-tier, and I like Luka Doncic, but they're a B-tier team. Luka Doncic is having an MVP season. Give him his credit. He's playing great, but I think this team still needs it's a good roster, but it needs more talent on the offensive end to help Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is having a great season offensively, rivaling some crazy MVP seasons that we've seen before, but he needs help. And I think that when Luka Doncic is not having a phenomenal night, the Mavs are going to suffer. And I think that with C. Wood starting now, which was a great move by Jason Kidd, they're 7-1 with C. Wood starting. Like the Sixers, there's just another there's another level they can get to, and I think the front office has to make another step to help their franchise guy. Next up, the Denver Nuggets. Denver is an S-tier team. I think this team is complete in the Western Conference. They have everything you need to compete. The Denver Nuggets are a deep team led by Nikola Jokic. This is the year that they can actually really make that run, and I think that they're proving to everyone that they have what it takes. So we'll see how it looks, but right now amongst the NBA, all the NBA teams, Denver has looked great, so we got to give them their credit. Next up, the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis, I was really going to put you guys down to a B tier team back when you guys lost to, when Ja was talking a lot of shit. Okay, he was talking a lot of shit. I was scared. Y'all made me look stupid. but I'm going to keep you guys as an A tier team. I think Morant is also having another good season. I also love the fact that now with Jaren Jackson Jr. on the lineup, back from injury, he's having a great defensive season, helping this team being an anchor defensively. And I think that due to the fact that Desmond Bane was injured for some time, he's getting back into a rhythm. This team is still good, and they're still a team you have to look out for the Western Conference. I still think that they have some ways to grow. They have a lot of things to learn, but Memphis is definitely an A-tier team that I think is going to be dangerous again. Memphis is still a good team you have to look out for, so give them some credit. The Minnesota Timberwolves, D-tier team for sure. D-tier team. I feel bad for Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards has had a crazy stretch of games, man. He's playing so good. With Karl-Anthony Towns injured and Rudy Gobert as a sole man as a center right now for the team, there hasn't been any true improvement from the Timberwolves this year. You've seen a regression from D'Angelo Russell, who I think could possibly be moved at the trade deadline to gain back some assets because they gave up so much for Rudy Gobert, and it doesn't look like they've really cashed in on that. And if they can't cash in on that, remember, they gave up 5 first-round picks and a lot of players for Rudy Gobert. And you can see that when Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns were playing early in the season, you can see Anthony Edwards was struggling. And now with more freedom now, Anthony Edwards is thriving in his role in his 3rd year. So the Timberwolves are in a difficult situation to figure out what to do with their team. And it's going to be difficult for them to figure out what to do. The Spurs fooled me from my last ranking. I definitely had you guys up there, but nah, the Spurs are definitely, yeah. Go get Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, and Amen Thompson. Yeah, for sure. The Utah Jazz. I can't lie. I love watching the Utah Jazz play basketball. I wish they had a top 7 player on their team because they would be one of the teams to look out for. But again, this team has fallen a little bit since my last rankings, but I think that this team still again has so many vets. Lauri Markkanen is going to be an all-star this year. And I think that this roster by itself right now is enough to make it into the playoffs, maybe the play-in tournament. But I do think that there could be a possibility that this team could trade a lot of pieces that they have on the roster right now, like a Lauri Markkanen, a Jordan Clarkson. There's a lot of guys on this team that many contending and playoff teams would want to go get. So I could definitely see them going in that direction. And I think that there's still a team that you have to look out for here and there, but without a true star player, they're more so in the C tier for me. But I do think that this team, that if you're not watching the Utah Jazz, definitely check out their games. They're a really, really good team to watch. The Clippers. The Clippers are a C tier team. I might make a video on the Clippers. I don't know what it is about them, but I feel like they're going about this the complete wrong way. When we look at the teams in the NBA right now, if I was to tell you which team had the most pressure to win, it has to be the Clippers. I know PG's dealing with a hamstring injury. Kawhi is, he's looked okay here and there coming back from injury, but those 2 guys are your best players. They have to play well. If they don't play well, then, that's about it. Phoenix Suns. I feel like they're a C-tier team. The fact that D-Book's going to be out for an extended period of time is going to hurt this team. I think that without Jay Crowder, who isn't on the team anymore, wants to be traded, and without Cam Johnson as well, who's been out for the entire year, the Suns are going to deal with a lot of issues right now. They're going to miss their best player. I think this team is going to deal with some issues while Devin Booker's out. Until he's back, the Suns are not going to look too good. The Portland Trailblazers. Portland is a C-tier team to me as well. I think that at the end of the day, this team is kind of where we expected them to be. A little bit in the middle of the Western Conference, around the 6-7 seed, and still performing well. They can still make a move. I think Portland could, if they could make another move and add another piece, they could. They've been okay. Nothing disappointing. They've been pretty well. They've been all right. Nothing crazy. The Sacramento Kings. Like I said before, I think this is the year the Sacramento Kings make the playoffs. And I think it's a shame that when the first NBA fan voting for the All-Star game starters came out, Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox weren't even on the list. Like, that's insane to me. Those 2 guys are going to be All-Stars this year. They have to be because they played so well. And I think the Sacramento Kings, with what they have so far and how they've shown with their bench unit, with their starters and coached by Mike Brown, this team has proven that they're going to be a team you have to look out for, and hopefully they make the playoffs like I expect and they perform well. And I think that leads again to what Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox are doing this season. Got to give them that credit. Light the beam. They're a B-tier team for sure. The New York Knicks. The Knicks are a C-tier team. I think the Knicks are, again, a team that many people are kind of surprised. I think people wrote them off with the Jalen Brunson signing, the RJ Barrett signing, who was, performing kind of poorly to begin the season. And I think Julius Randle has had a very, very good revenge season from last year where he was kind of down. They're a fairly good team. They're a C-tier team to me. They're not a disappointment by any measure, but I think that they're right where they're at. And I think that they'll end up being maybe in the play-in tournament, fighting for a playoff spot, but they're okay. I think you have to give credit to Jalen Brunson playing so well again. He's played for it. He's earned that money that he signed, and he's doing a good job as well. So credit to him. The Knicks they're a C-tier team. The New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans are a B-tier team, and it's not. No, they're an A-tier team. The Pelicans are an A-tier team. I'm gonna give the Pelicans an A-tier team. What makes the Pelicans so good is that they're so deep and they have so many veterans on that team that keeps everybody even keeled. The beginning of the season till now, they're a team that has proven why they're one of the most exciting teams and one of the most improved teams going into the season from last year's playoffs. So again, credit to the Pelicans. I think the biggest issue is the fact that Zion Williamson's out with an injury. Hopefully he can come back in time for him to make an impact for this team as the season goes along. But they're an A-tier team. Give them their credit. I like what I see from them. The Charlotte Hornets, F-tier. I mean, I've said it from the very beginning before the season even began. I said the number one thing the Hornets have to do is get another star, young player next to LaMelo Ball as he progresses in the NBA. I think that this year, if the Charlotte Hornets continue to tank and, lose games, they'll have a top pick and hopefully get a top player in the NBA draft that can help them with their rebuild. Because I think right now with the older guys that they have, like Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre, guys who could possibly be moved at the trade deadline, these are assets that they can go ahead and gain. You need to give him a running mate or running partner or number 2 option that can grow with him to build something in Charlotte, and that'd be the best bet. So that's what I think. So yeah, Charlotte. Next up, are Houston Rockets. Houston, F tier. It's a clear. Yeah. I love my team, but that's what it is. To make things short, Houston has a lot of issues. They got to figure out what their identity is, and I think that right now it's clear as day that they're one of the worst teams in the NBA on offense and on defense. They have to fix that, and I think that they're an F tier team. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, I can't even break this down. They're an F tier team. Just go get Wemby or Scoot. Next up, the Miami Heat, C tier team. Miami again is one of the few teams that I think a disappointment, but I think they're still a team that you have to look out for. I think that Bam Adebayo is still one of the better centers in the NBA. The Miami Heat definitely are a team that has a lot of question marks, and I think that they're a C-tier team, but they're still a team that you have to look out for when you play them every single night. So I think they're in the middle of the pack. No team. They're still, the season isn't over, but it's going to be pretty tough to see the Miami Heat make any type of deep run like they have in previous years. Next up, the Chicago Bulls. Disappointment. They're a D-tier team. I made a video about the Chicago Bulls. I think they have chemistry issues due to injuries, bad on-court performance, and I've already said that I think guys might be moved at the trade deadline, like a Zach LaVine or Alex Caruso. They haven't played well, and I think that due to the fact that Chicago has lost so many assets trading for Vucevic and trying to build a roster with younger assets that they had that haven't performed well, time is ticking, and I think right now is probably the best time for them to look to see if they have to pull the plug on what they have right now. We'll see, but it's clear as day from last year, the Bulls have been a complete disappointment, so they're in a D tier. Next up, the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn's an S tier team, and I think a lot of people, and I gotta say it, I was wrong. I was wrong about the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are having a phenomenal season, and the entire Brooklyn Nets offense and their defense has been thriving. But again, credit to those guys, especially Kyrie and KD. They got flack last year, and they came into this season and they've been hooping. So give them that credit. Next up, the Oklahoma City Thunder. SGA is going to be an all-star this year, and you think about it, they build their entire identity off of being a defensive unit, a defensive team. You add in Chet Holmgren next year, their top pick next year, and hopefully maybe a free agent next year. This team is going to have some motion, and they're going to be moving. I like what I see in OKC. That I think any OKC fan is watching the Thunder, they have something to be happy about, to be impressed about. So yeah, shout out to Oklahoma City. Next up, the Golden State Warriors. Look, Golden State is a B tier team, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I think they're going to move up to an A tier and hopefully an S tier team by the time March hits. I still think that this team still might need another piece to help them put them over the edge, especially in the playoffs. Maybe another veteran piece to come off the bench for them. But the Warriors are still the Warriors, and I think that they're going to be okay. Steph is injured, but he's going to be back later in this month. They're going to move up to an A-tier team, hopefully an S-tier team. But again, this team is dangerous. I don't know why people keep sleeping on them. I told you guys from the jump, they're still the Warriors, guys. Like, it's nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Next up, the Celtics. They're an S-tier team. I think Tatum and Jaylen Brown are arguably the best duo in the NBA right now. Tatum's having an MVP season. Jaylen Brown's going to be an all-star. And I love the fact that Robert Williams is back from injury, who's going to be another defensive presence down low for that team. And it's going to make their team a little bit much deeper. I think from last year's NBA Finals heartbreak, they have grown from that, and have used that as motivation to play well this year. So it is what it is. Credit to the Celtics. Next up, the Lakers. And y'all are going to find this funny, but the Lakers are actually a C-tier team. Think about this, guys. They were 2-10 to begin the season. Since then, they've been 15-11. Lakers have performed well enough to where I think that their season can change if they make a trade that can help their team. I'm not saying that there's a trade out there that's just going to put them over the edge, but this team definitely has been much better than what we expect. So, yeah. Actually, Thunder fans, I'm sorry. I'm bringing y'all back down. I'm sorry. I know. I'm a Rockets fan at heart. I have to. And then the Magic. I think the Magic are I'll put them in the F tier. They did have a nice little run during December, but I think that they're an F tier team. Paolo Banchero is having one of the best rookie seasons that I've seen with my own eyes. He's a phenomenal piece, but the Magic have one in him, and I think that it's not that their team is bad, but they know what they have in Paolo Banchero. They're still rebuilding. Another piece would definitely help. But Paolo Banchero's look great, and I think that's what's most important for this team. But yeah, all on the F tier with everybody else, though. I ain't gonna lie to you. But that concludes my NBA rankings entering this new year. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. This season has been very, very wacky. So many teams are rising and falling day to day. So many guys are scoring over 60, 70, 50. Guys are just scoring the ball. There's so much happening in the NBA right now. But if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to this channel, and turn that post notification bell on so you never miss a video. Got lots of more content loaded going in for this new year. Enjoy the new year, and until next time, stay on beat.